Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. And the signal is okay. There's 14 people online straight away, which isn't too bad. And there comes the dog. There comes the dog. There's 14 folk online. Perfect. Right. I was going to talk about the game tomorrow. To talk about my team, but I've got the team going along the bottom. I think it's going to be the same team as we've been playing recently. I don't think Brendan Rodgers is going to muck about with that too much, but as you all have noticed, you would have all seen the news that the Green Brigade have been banned. I'm going to. You've obviously seen the statement, the email that would have got sent out. It says we are writing to advise you that due to the repeated incidents of unacceptable conduct involving the Green Brigade, in inverted commas, the club have suspended all tickets for all season ticket holders who are registered with the ticket office as being part of this group, pending further review of communications and with the group and other supporters in question in regards to compliance and in the real seating section. They're basically being banned until future notice. I think they're going to be banned until after the Aberdeen game. Conversations that I've had with people tonight, they think that the ban will run until after the Aberdeen game. It's interesting, the email that was sent out. It then goes on, the safety of all supporters at Celtic Park is paramount of importance in the middle of these serious safety concerns, waving flags. I mean, the thing is, I'm not going to have an opinion on it because I lost too many subscribers the last time. I'm just here to report it as I see it. And I probably am the only channel that's talking about it, to be fair. And we have separately emailed a representative of the group with further detail. Following on from a number of formal written communications dating back to September, ongoing. This is the thing, and I've said this before. People don't understand that the group and the club have ongoing dialogue on a weekly basis. Before Peter Lawwell stepped down 2 years ago, the group and Peter Lawwell had monthly meetings, right? So it's one of the comments that was in the group chat was, it's funny how this stuff all kicks off when Peter Lawwell comes back into the building. Anyway, some newspaper saying into 3 months. Well, that wouldn't surprise me, but it would be Celtic's downfall if they suspend them for 3 months. Anyway, it goes on. If you wish to contact the club on this or any other matter related to the rail seating section, we would ask you to email at the first instance, and this is a new email address: railseating@celtic.co.uk. And then I'm not going to go into the total thing of the chat, but next home game after Madrid is Aberdeen, remembering Sunday. And they reckon that that'll be the game. It'll be after that game that they'll get back. They'll get back into the ground. And then there's other breaking news tonight. It's going to be one of those nights. There's talk of Celtic now only getting the top tier at Motherwell for the foreseeable future. They've already shown that they don't care that it hits them financially, and it is. It's been said that Celtic will only get the top tier at Motherwell away games. So, welcome to the channel. Welcome to the Celtic news. I'm not going to say. I'm not going to. I mean, you can talk about it in the chat. I think everyone that has followed this channel for a long time knows my stance on it. I did see it coming. It's nothing new. It's nothing new. It's definitely not nothing new. I mean, go to years ago when the Green Brigade have walked out. Anyway, it's going to be interesting times because there was flags. I mean, there's people saying that it was due to the incident at Hibs. Now, the Green Brigade weren't at Hibs, it was the boys that were at Hibs. Now, remember that going back to the history of the two groups, the boys were actually in the Green Brigade, which were called at the time, they were the SMV. And then they were actually chucked out of the group because and out of the standing section because they wouldn't behave. They wouldn't behave. No, the irony of that, the Green Brigade behave. They chucked out now. Hope that obviously the Green Brigade and Peter Lawwell will be in discussions over the next week or so. And I think it will just be left for everyone else to comment. And we'll see how many people start talking about it. Because let's face it, I got absolute pelters. I'm going to just say it. In fact, I got absolute pelters in here for showing the video of near Britain complaining about the Green Brigade back in Palestine, not back in Hamas, back in Palestine. And I lost a lot of subscribers, but I got told that I'm not a Celtic supporter and things like this. Never mind the fact that I've spent tens of thousands following Celtic over the years, but never mind. Anyway, move on. We move on. Right, let's get to, and it's going to be hard, but we need to talk about the game tomorrow. And what it has done is over the next couple of weeks, the atmosphere at Celtic Park will be dramatically quieter. We've all been there before. The Green Brigades, I mean, I can go back over the years where the Green Brigade have walked out, where they've been banned for a month at a time, and the atmosphere was terrible. I think it could cost us. It could cost us. Anyway, we move on. The Green Brigade were at Hibs game. They brought their banner. Well, they shouldn't have been because they were banned, Lanky. They were banned. So I don't know if it was the Green Brigade and the boys still have a connection of sorts. But anyway, the Green Brigade had it coming. When did they appear? I'm in my 50s. I can't remember them in the 60s, 70s, and 90s. Yeah, SL17. I remember this casuals that were back in the 80s and 90s. And I personally remind them, and they were a lot worse than the Green Brigade. So the Green Brigade started in 2006. So that's just they started in 2006. So they're not a new thing. And the Green Brigade were actually people that wanted to. They had grown up in the jungle. So the guys that started the original Green Brigade were people that grew up as kids in the jungle, and they wanted to recreate that at Celtic Park, and that's why they wanted that. They wanted a section of Celtic Park where they could recreate the jungle. So, talking about the 70s and 80s, I mean, Celtic fans were horrendous then. They were running battles in the streets and everything like that. So, be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you wish for. I would say definitely that the Celtic casuals in the 80s were far worse than anything that the Green Brigade have done. Anything, because the 90s was all about fighting in the streets and in the stadiums. Anyway, let's move on from that. We're going to cut off the conversation about the Green Brigade because it is too divisive. I want to get back to talking about football because people get a bit upset and people think that there's one set of Celtic fans better than another, which they're not. We're all Celtic fans, and it's meant to be a club open to all, and a club open to all. Think about that. A club open to everyone, as long as you don't want to talk out of turn and you don't want to have an opinion. So it's rather disappointing, but we move on. We move on and we talk about the game tomorrow. In the game tomorrow, oh look, I've lost a subscriber already. Woo! Anyway, right. And San Fran Celtic, you've just nailed it in one. You've nailed it in one. Right. Anyway, the team for tomorrow. I've got the team of tomorrow as pretty much the same as what it has been. Hart, Johnson, Carter, Vickers, Scales, Taylor, McGregor, O'Reilly. I've got a Tatty in there and he's injured. Wait a minute. I need to change that. That's an old one. We can't have a Tatty in there because he is he's no longer fit. So who isn't going to be in place of Hattati? Put a question mark, and then we'll get that back up. So yeah, let's give me your teams. Let's get back to talking about football. Scottish club won't give Celtic allocations. Maybe Celtic need to move to a league down south. We've all got different opinions. That's life. It is Lanky. It is, but it's funny because people think that unsubscribing to the channel will hurt the channel and things, but it is. Yeah, I think Awata, Jason Lee, you got it right in there. I put a question mark in where where there's a missing midfield player, so my team would be Hart, Johnson, Carter, Vickers, Scales, Taylor, McGregor, O'Reilly, Hatate, Maida, Keelgot, and Palmer. Now, the reason that I'm going with Hatate, I think I I think it's time that he gets his chance. I think it is time that gets his chance in that defensive midfield role. I think that even though people have been saying, I mean, Brendan Rodgers likes what people have been saying that there was somebody said in a comment this morning that Callum McGregor isn't a Scott Brown. No, you've got to remember when Scott Brown was a young midfield player that came into Celtic, it was an absolute rocket for running box to box. And even Scott Brown admitted this himself that we Gordon Strachan wanted them to calm down, So Gordon Strachan is the one that kind of made him sit back and learn football, learn everything about midfield and commanding that midfield. And Brendan Rodgers basically just took that another step forwards. Brendan Rodgers made sure that Scott Brown dominated the midfield. Maybe the boss, Brendan Rodgers, thinking that he can do that to Callum McGregor. Maybe it's the wrong thing. Maybe we should still, because Callum McGregor is 32. He was the same age as what Scott Brown was when the manager came into Celtic the first time round. People want to push Callum McGregor forward. I think it's probably a good thing, but we do need defensive cover. We do need defensive cover, and I think Awat is the player that can come in and play that position. My family was steeped in it all day. I was born. What was this? There was no banners in the 70s to the 90s of a geopolitical nature outside the British. Come on, there was IRA stuff sang all over the place. Come on, SL17. There was IRA songs all through the 70s and 90s. There was IRA stuff sang all over the place. So just, you know what? Just answer. Right, I'm not getting involved in this nonsense tonight. Let's get back to talk about the team. And if you want to keep on talking about SL, just unsubscribe to the channel as far as I'm concerned, because to say that there was nothing like that went on in the 70s and 80s is absolute nonsense. Absolute nonsense. I can remember going to the Hillsborough disaster memorial game in the 1990s, and they were all talking about politics. All talking about politics. Guys for Liverpool and Celtic fans together talking about politics at the game. So you're talking nonsense. Anyway, Hart, Ralston, Carter, Vickers, Scales, Taylor. Yeah, that was within the British Isles. If you call Ireland the British Isles, well, then you call Ireland the British Isles. Let's move on from it. Let's just move on from it. This is good. The chat. I'm just going to hide the chat because it's the. It's just going to be complete madness if I don't see what's going on in the chat. Probably the better for this evening. Anyway, right, let's get back to big news. Right, I've done a video earlier and I was talking about players that could get moved on from Celtic. This story with arms and legs this afternoon about Matt O'Reilly being wanted by Spurs. Do you think that Matt O'Reilly would go to Spurs? I don't think so. He's come out and he's said in the last 48 hours, as Matt O'Reilly, that he's in sensational form. He loves being at Celtic. He wants to go from strength to strength at Celtic. The fact that there's meant to be, allegedly, interest in Postecoglou, I don't think that Matt O'Reilly would go to Spurs after what he said about Ange Postecoglou at the beginning of the season. And the new manager, Brendan Rodgers, he said that he preferred the training under Brendan Rodgers. It doesn't stop any interest from Tottenham, but let's face it, out of the teams mentioned about Matt O'Reilly, Spurs is probably the only one that's got a chance. He's never going to go to West Ham. Fair enough. West Ham got to a European Cup final last season. They got to that lower cup, European Cup. They did get that. He's never going to go to Brentford. Right? He's never going to go to Brighton. Because he's not going to get any. He's not going to get any international football if he goes to teams like that. If he goes to a team like that, he's never going to play in the Champions League. He's never going to play in Europe on a regular basis, and he's never going to win anything. He's never going to win anything. That's the most important thing. Players Players want to win things. Player wants to win things, and I think that's one reason that Matt O'Reilly won't jump ship. Won't jump ship for a few years yet. And I'll put my kind of Fanta lemon on it. Fanta lemon on it, right? Matt O'Reilly will not leave Celtic within the next year, hopefully. um, Smell the Glove says for 70 grand a week, we're back with Ange in a sec. No, he won't. No, he won't. No, he won't. I think Ange will get found out at some point in the English Premiership, and he will move at some point. But will that be before Ange Postecoglou jumps ship and goes to Man United? Now, there's a thing. Matt, he's the type of manager that if he gets the right offer, he'll jump ship. And I'm sure that if Man United were to come calling for Ange Postecoglou, it would be interesting. It would be really, really interesting. Right. Anyway, let's get back to talking about football. Celtic, Matt O'Reilly. He has said that he's completely focused and he isn't contemplating a Celtic exit at the moment. And even though he's been eyed by Brighton and Brentford, reports south of the border says that you know what, we've done that. The fact that we've got him on a deal till 2027, it'll take 30 million to buy him out his contract. Celtic wanted 30 million. If they can get 25 million for Jota, and he was older than Matt O'Reilly. Now Matt O'Reilly's got youth on his age. He's got the fact that he's got a longer contract, and if anyone was to try and come and get him, Celtic are wanting in the best part of 30 million. But I don't think Celtic will sell him just yet. I don't think they will sell him. They don't need to. They're trying to build a team. If you look at what the manager's been saying over the last couple of days, he wants to trim down the squad, and he wants to bring in a bit more experienced player. Because let's face it, we've brought in. We're going to go back to transfer talk, and it does my head in just now. The fact that no chat tonight, Baz. What's going on? Celtic board. No chat tonight. There is chat tonight. There is chat tonight. I'm trying to dodge it because it's madness. It's madness. It could just turn into a complete rabble, and we've got to respect everyone's views. Pennies for an English club. Yeah, I think 30 million is pennies for an English club, but it's right. We do not have a replacement for him. We didn't have a replacement for Jota, although we've brought in Louis Palma. Louis Palma has big ambitions of playing in Europe, playing in Spain. Being from South America, that's his goal, to play in Spain. If he does it again against Atletico Madrid, I think he will definitely get a move to Spain at some point in the next couple of years. So let's say, yeah, no, we do need to, but I just report the news that's out there. I just report the news that is out there. We do not need to sell them, but it wouldn't be a Celtic news channel if, there's a lot of channels out there that talk about Celtic stuff and talk positively about stuff, but they don't talk about the actual Celtic news that's coming out every day. And I only talk about the stuff that is getting reported by different websites all around the country and around Europe. So if people don't like it, it is the Celtic news at the end of the day. That's it. Right, get us back to the team. What do you think the score will be tomorrow night? Jason, my fears will sell him for 30 million and buy a replacement for 2. Yeah, it is. It probably is that. Nice wee fair for an outsider. Yeah. What do you think the score will be tomorrow evening? Because I'm thinking it's going to be another close game. The fact that they scored 4 at the weekend, it did take them a little while to get game. They didn't score their first goal until about the 30th minute. So I think if Celtic, it's all going to come down to the fact with, I think, atmosphere of this group of fans that have been kept out. Now, to let you understand, it will just be the bottom tier of the standing section. Tom's going for 4-0. Lanky's going for 4-2. Lorna's going for 3-1. 3-1. That's an interesting one. Do you think that they will score against us? I don't think there'll be an easy game. I don't think St Mirren will be an easy game at all. 3-0 Celtic. 3-0 Celtic. James is going for 4-1, says Hazel. Jeffrey says, definitely, I think 4-1. 0-0. Oh, Paul, come on. We cannot afford another 0-0 at this stage of the season. This is the stage of the season where we've got a lot of games coming up. I mean, when we look at the games, when you look at the fixture list, obviously tomorrow night, 7:45 kickoff, we play St Mirren. And then we're away to Ross County. Ross County is always a hard game. Now, remember, it was a couple of seasons ago that at this time of year is when Tony Ralston scored that goal late into the injury time, which then put Celtic on a run to make sure that we won the league that season. We're then away to Atletico Madrid. That's going to just take care of itself. And then we come back and match day 13, Sunday, the 12th of November, Celtic Aberdeen. And that's a 2:30 kickoff. There's a 2:30 kickoff on this. The Green Brigade will definitely still be banned for that game, being Remembrance Sunday. And then the next home game is Motherwell. Motherwell is the 25th of November. So we do have an international break coming up. Another international break. That's what I think, international breaks. But some goal. It was, oh boy, it was a cracker though, and it always, it was one of those things. And Ross County's, I can remember a few years ago, we played a game, and I think it was maybe about must have been about near enough to December, and it was an early kickoff again. It must be a 2:00 kickoff or something. I can't remember, but everyone had got the bus, got to the bus in the morning, and everyone's got these big jackets on. Freezing cold it was, freezing in the morning, and I rocks up with shorts and a t-shirt on, and everyone's like, "Are you mad? It's freezing." And I'm like, "Have you not seen the weather forecast in Dingwall? It's barmy. It's like 18 degrees. They were having a mini heat wave. Had a mini heat wave. It was bonkers. There was guys going around sweating buckets because they had these big winter coats on. And the time you got up there, it was like 16, 17 degrees. It was crazy. And there was guys going around with onesies on, sweating their pants off. It must have been November. I'm sure it was November because there was the old November songs. Build a bonfire were getting sung that day. Right, anyway, fed up with international breaks. You can't get the momentum. Yep. Always a tough time in the season. The games come thick and fast. Tarmac praying for Livingston relegation. So we don't have to. Yep. That was the only good thing about Livingston is we do get a lot of away fans, but the pitch is terrible, and it's they need to get rid of these pitches out of professional football, as far as I'm concerned. The squad needs refreshed and rotated, says Martin. Some rotation would be good to keep people hungry and remind a few that just don't turn up. The Hibs game was an interesting one because if you listen to the video this morning and the comment that Neil Lennon said, I mean, even he said he's played in a game when you come back and you play a high intensity game like that in Europe, and then you're playing a game like this, you do need that extra break. Should of this have been the weekend that we played this Sunday? Coming back from the Wednesday night and then having to play so soon, players do need a bit of a break. 16 Celsius is a heat wave in Scotland, says Sandwich. Yes, it was a heat wave. That's why I had shorts on then. If I was to go back to 16 degrees now, I think it was freezing. Paul Baird says it's going to be 4-0 tomorrow night. I think I thought it was going to be a high scoring goal at the weekend. And when you think about it, when you look at the way that we played, it was just players just couldn't get off the mark. But you've got to put your hands up to Hibs because the Hibs did do what teams have been doing since the beginning of the season, man marking Callum McGregor. And then even the Hibs manager said after the game, he said, look, the player that man marked Callum McGregor took one for the team and basically knew that he wasn't going to do anything the whole game except man mark Callum McGregor. This is why we need Callum McGregor in a more further forward position. This is why I think that Awata should get his chance. This is why I think rather than Paulo Bernardo in that more attacking position, Callum McGregor should maybe change it up a bit and go into that attacking position, and Awata should come on in that defensive one. Awata's a big guy. He's a big guy that can maybe boss that midfield and help us a bit. But will it happen? Will it happen? Brendan Rodgers has got a big shout. And will it happen at Celtic Park? That's the thing. It's going to be interesting. It's just a European hangover. We've seen it before, said Lanky. Yeah, we've seen it before over the years, Lanky. It is nothing new at Celtic, although it is a bit of a disappointment because big European teams generally don't get the same kind of hangover that we get in Celtic. We tend to get these European hangovers and we come back and we play a lower standard of football. Is that the problem in Scotland? Is it the sort of defensive type of football and trying to break that down and then it's the mundaneness of it? Or is it the fact that it's just the fitness levels that we're going out and we're pushing Celtic, are punching above their weight in Europe to that certain extent that when it comes back to the game against Hibs, it's a bit of an anticlimax for the players. No, there's maybe something about that about it. All right, let's get to some of the questions, the comments. Back to the one from Martin first. Yes, we need depth. Squad. Let's agreed. Put Calmark one forward. Yeah, I think we need to do something like that. We need to change it up a bit. I mean, even going to three at the back. Going to three at the back is something that we really need to think about more, especially at Celtic Park, I'm afraid. When teams are kind of pegged back like that. But St Mirren are a team that kind of sit back and try to hit us on the break. So, maybe a 3-5-2 is a good option, with the option to go into five at the back if we get really scared. It's St Mirren coming for us. If Paulo Bernardo plays, say San Francisco, he'll have gone from 0 to 3 games in a week. Too much, says San Fran Celtic. Yes, hats off to you for that one. I kind of agree with that one. So I think that's probably one of the good reasons why we should bring Hitati in also. That's one of the reasons probably why we should bring him over. We need a bit of dig in midfield, says Michael, definitely. A bit of dig in midfield. We thought Rio Hitati would be the one that give us a bit of dig in midfield, but the way that Rio Hitati's passes had been when he was fit, just wayward passes. We need someone to come back in and help Callum McGregor out big time. Although Matt O'Reilly is doing it, and Matt O'Reilly's getting more to that box to box thing, I think something needs to change the next game. Anyway, ask Scales about how good squad depth is. That's an interesting one because Scales is obviously in the squad because of injured players. Injured players players have came in and had their chance, and they haven't stepped up to the mark like what Scales has. Jason Lee says that 3-5-2 makes sense versus a low back, I guess, a low block. I think it does make sense, Jason. I think if we can get the two, we need two strikers that connect with each other. I don't think right now that we've got two strikers that talk to each other in a way that like a Larson and big Chris Sutton did. Even the way that Dembele and maybe Lee Griffiths did. I think we don't really have that in the team. Can't we play a 3-4-3? Says Jason. That's a nice one that Iwata could fit into. Three at the back would obviously be Liam Scales, Cameron Carter-Vickers. And who else would you put at the back? Would you bring in Phillips? Would you bring in Phillips for this one at Celtic Park and give some of the other guys a bit of a rest? Who would you leave out of the team if that was to be the case? Because obviously the fullbacks aren't going to get forward as much, so they're maybe not needed as much. So that could be a complete change of the midfield. Would that affect the game too much? Would that affect the way that Celtic play? Would that affect the? Would that be? Would that affect the game far too much if they change the team that much? What do you think? I don't know. What I could be that dig. Scales is fast becoming an essential player. Yes, it is that. And Palma's getting better every game. Palma is getting better every game. And he is one player that is completely undroppable. He's a player that should never be dropped out of the team. As a cracker, that doesn't even add up. A 3-5-5 part. Many players you getting on the pitch. Yeah. It's not just the brain to sport past there. Yep. Phillips can bounce back, can bounce in January. He's bang average. Yeah, he is bang average, but he was brought in just to help our defence when we had a lot of bit of problems in the defence. Now that Rocky's back into the fold, is Rocky the type of player that can play in the back of a back three? What about Gustav Lager Belke? He had an interesting start. He looked kind of kinda good, and then he disappeared. The fact that, he's one that's disappeared right off the team anyway. Palmer was rubbish on Saturday. The whole team was rubbish on Saturday, Celtic. You can't really pick that. Oh, Jesus. Aye, that's it. We're just gonna get the lodge involved as well. Player 3, 5, 6. Jagger's a young talent who will come good. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what players. I mean, Brendan Rodgers talking about players that we need to trim the squad. It'll be interesting to see how many of these new players that come in get put out on loan, or is it the case in the video that I did earlier when I talk about the likes of Bernabe? Bernabe's getting nowhere near the team. Are Celtic going to take a hit on the likes of Bernabe? You've then got the likes of Turnbull that's out of contract, Mickey Johnson that's also out of contract at the end of this season. I mean, that's two players straight away that you could drop right off the team and not really miss, to be fair. They are only in contention for the Scottish players, but then that brings its own problems. We have to have a certain amount of players. It then comes back to the summer situation where we put our own players out on loan. The current play 3-5-6. Brendan's shown SL17, and Brendan has shown that he could switch formation and tactics so far. With January back in, he'll produce for next season after we won in the league and Scottish Cup incoming. I'm not so sure that we will win the Scottish. I think we might win it. I think that as long as we're not as strong, I think, and this is going to be a bit controversial. I don't think we're as strong as what the team is when Brendan was here the first time. Tell me that in the comments. Do you think currently this Celtic team are as strong as the team as Brendan had first time round? Because personally, I don't think so. Um, I don't think so. I think that even Brendan Rodgers knows that we're not as strong. We've got far too many people, far too many players at the club that are prospects, and far too many that are probably on their way out the club, which is it's just one of these things. It's just one of these things, right? Ange Postecoglou, we've talked about him. We've talked about the Celtic fixtures. The fact that we do have some nice home games coming up. There's a lot of people been talking again about Lawrence Shankland being the Celtic. That's never going to happen. Never going to happen. Um, Absolutely never going to happen. Revealed Celtic detailed explanation. Oh, this is going to be an interesting one. If Celtic put out a statement, no, they haven't, have they? To avoid any misunderstanding, the progressive steps taken by the club over a period of time have resulted in increasingly serious escalation of unbehaviour and non-compliance with relegations matches with Celtic and away grounds, which has created serious safety concerns and other issues. Doesn't tell. See folks that try to put out that they've got an exclusive on what comes out of Celtic when they're just putting their own slant on stuff. It's unbelievable. Shankland, not a chance. We had Dumbelli, Edward, and Brendan's first start. Yes, we did. There's more talent in this is an interesting one from Lanky. There's more talent in this team, but we're not as strong as when Brendan was here the first time round. There's more talent in this team. Do you think it's a case there's more prospects that could reach those dizzy heights? You've got to remember, we're just at the start of the journey. If you said after Ronnie Dyler, we were still on the road to 9 in a row back then, is is Brendan going to be? Here's an interesting one for you. Will Ange Postecoglou be brought back to win Celtic 9 in a row if Brendan Rodgers leaves? Ah, oh man! After the man who started the current run of obviously winning 2 in a row, if we win this one, we're in 3 in a row. Do you think that Postecoglou would come back to Celtic after as many years being in England to come back to win Celtic? No, I don't think so. I don't think he'll ever step foot in Scotland ever again. Here's one. I think we'll create more chances tomorrow. St Mirren won't sit back like everyone else does. I'm going for a 2-0. Well, that's an interesting scoreline. I think it's definitely an interesting scoreline. A lot of people going for big scorelines tomorrow. I can't really see it. I don't think that we will get a big score. I think they're going to play far too tight. But on the other hand, you never know. You just never know. We are due a big, big result. It'll come down to the fans as well. The fans, now that the Greenberg have finally been evicted from from the Big Brother house, and now that they've been evicted from the Big Brother house, it's going to come up to the boys who are in the other corner of the stadium. Will the boys in the other corner of the stadium be able to create enough noise at Celtic Park and the noise that the team needs to get them right up? Because sometimes on a wet, cold winter's evening at Celtic Park, the players can see it on them the pressure of the stadium being so quiet and everything. Um, it can get to the players. And that's my only worrying thing. So fans need to need to up their game. Every Celtic fan has been there and done it before. People say that we used to sing and shout before pre-Green Brigade. It was a totally different fan base then. It was a totally different population, or a bit different, and people who went to the games were completely different back then. Rodgers will be back in January. I think he will be back in January, but he's also probably going to be told you have to lower this wage bill. You have to lower this wage bill, and we've got too many players. You can't keep on going with 32 of a squad. Brendan has come out and said, look, he said over the next couple of windows we will get it down. Now, does he mean that we'll get it down due to natural wastage? About what I mean by natural wastage is people's contracts ending, like players that I've mentioned. Um, Turnbull, his contract's up. Mikey Johnson, his contract's up at the end of the season. What is that the way that Brendan Rodgers sees squad reducing? Or does he think that we're going to sell a couple of our main players? Or will it be the case that some of the younger players that we've brought in as prospects will finally be out on loan? And again, we need to bring back some of the young guys that we've put out on loan and give them their chance. Or what's the point? What is the point? What's the atmosphere going to be like as a chapel the day of a funeral? It's an interesting one. Interesting one. 4-0 tomorrow for the second time. Do you think, Robert, we've got a 4-0 in us? It's you look at it. Louis Palmer's obviously due back on the score sheet. Keel was due back on the score sheet, and Matt O'Reilly's obviously due another screamer. We're operating with about 14 players, so there's about 18 that need to move on. Yeah, exactly. But then, Tim, we brought in 9 players at the summer. Um, we brought in 9 players in the summer when we didn't really need 9 players. It's reading between the lines for what Brendan Rodgers said. He thought there was going to be, and Celtic backroom staff thought there was going to be more players left Celtic this summer because there was obviously players that had indicated to them that they wanted to leave. They wanted to leave. Yeah, Lanky, we cannot forget this. Where is it? I'm sure I've actually got it on my phone. Have I? 2 seconds. No, I can't have been. Oh, there we go. We have to remember. We have to remember the fallen. Let's all take a moment to remember a fallen club. Yeah, that's enough of that nonsense. Yep. Happy anniversary to the day that Rangers officially, um, well, they didn't officially die today because that was left till Valentine's Day. It must be the only club that can announce that they're going to go into liquidation on Halloween and then die on Valentine's Day. So yeah, seems like it should be banned for the boards, home matches for the boards, club. Happy anniversary. Yep. Squad players, not first team ready. Yeah, we have brought in a lot of squad players and they aren't first team ready. So, the fact that we've brought in 9 players, out of the 9 players, but only 3 of them are brought in by Brendan Chilpel, late to the party. He's in the house now. Well, just for you, Chilpel, let's not forget the dead. Anyway, enough of that. From, but as it shows their tax was paid. Ah, no, that's they got away with some dodgy ones. Remember back in the day when you could go to a garage and you if you knew the mechanic who was doing the MOTs, you could just slip him like 50 quid and he would just stamp no, because you had to get it stamped at the post office, didn't you? Because folk used to steal them from the post office. That was it. That was it. That was back in the day. God. Anyway. Anyway, we move on for that one. Nearly that time again with the ship bars. Yep, do that. Chill Pill is back in the house, and let's get back to Lanky's comment. The 9 players that were brought in his opinion, Brendan only brought in 3 of them. Palmer, Phillips, and Bernardo. The other players were lined up from Ange, and that's his opinion. I think you're probably pretty much spot on with that. I think that there was players that was definitely lined up or given, maybe not lined up by Ange, but he definitely signed them off. Signed them off with their Lorna, you're showing their age. Dear, I'm that. Right, Big Dom. Big Dom has predicted January exits. Nat Phillips, Yoki Kobayashi, Turnbull. Oh, Odin. Odin, big Odin. You think Odin will go? Um, Marco Tillo. I don't think Marco Tillo will go. He'll be left. Mikey Johnson. And Johnny Kenny. Johnny Kenny actually comes back to Celtic, then he doesn't. He has. He's out on loan, so Big Dom Johnny Kenny comes back to Celtic. His loan deal runs out at the end of November, I'm sure it is, and into December. So he'll come back to Celtic at that point. Is he going to come back and prove that he's good enough to play for Celtic? I'm not really sure on that one. Um, all the transfers should have been put on hold after Anne's left. And John is in the house. Evening, you, John. Pardon me. God. How's things? Kev phoned me, was it this morning, I think? I can't remember. When was it? The sites are getting quiet back home. That's a bad sign, is it not? That the building sites are getting a bit quieter. They're slowing down on the house building. Anyway, Big Dom, can't see him going anywhere. Let's get back. Connor Goldson, full forward. All the transfers. Chilpel is an interesting one. Movovsky in January. I don't think so. I don't think so. Is it, how much do you think it would cost us to get him, Chilpel? How much do you think it would cost us to get him? It's an interesting one, but how much do you think it would cost? I mean, we've got the money, but do you really think that we're going to spend? I don't think so. Phillips ain't perfect. Prediction is a fact. Well, Phillips is going. Phillips is going back in January anyway because he was only on loan until January. So people saying that it's fact that he's going back, Tom, it is fact because he was only on loan until January. Even he said at the time, he said, January, and at that point, Celtic will have a talk with me whether they're going to keep him on or not. You know, there's no obligation to keep him on after it, and he'll return. Don't think Tilo. Don't think Tilo will return. Uh, Tilo's not going to play this season. You can forget about Tilo. The fact that he's been put down to the B squad is something else. Southern World Cup going. I was going to say the name of the World Cup. Big Dom can't see home going. Haven't seen enough of home. Wouldn't rule him out. That's an interesting one. Up on sale in 5 weeks. Johnny Kenny plays his last game for Shamrock Rovers this weekend, says Paul. I thought it was. Oh, yeah, we're into November. Well, that's interesting. That's interesting. So he'll be back at Celtic. Will he go back into the B team or will he come into first team? Two players in the first team that are strikers. He a striker. Johnny Kenny got 5 goals in 32 games in the Irish League. Not good enough, says Martin. It's definitely not good enough if you think that you're going to come back and walk straight into the Celtic team. Um, Pat Maguire says Starfelt's be dumped to be back. No, he won't. In fact, the part of Spain he's in is probably the coldest part of Spain. So I would never mention that. Not to mention McCarthy. McCarthy is definitely one. If you watched the earlier video that I put up, he was one of the players that I thought could definitely be off. Who was the players that I mentioned? Let's just get the video up. But Wait a minute, because if I just do this, check this out. Start running slow at this time of night. 142 people watching live. How many thumbs up? We've only got 61 thumbs up. We don't need Starfelt back. We have a good centre back. We don't need Starfelt back. We don't need Starfelt. Could Johnny Kenny be covered until January? Interesting one. Could he give us something different? There's a little bit of a different option compared to O, because let's face it, O's not really cutting it, is he? Um, O's not cutting it. How much McCarthy's on? There's some people saying that he's only on 14 grand a week, McCarthy Tam, and there's other people saying that he's on around about 24. So I'm going to take it as somewhere in between. I'm going to probably take it that it's probably closer to the 14. The fact that Celtic put him on such a transfer market rates, mostly at 1.2 million. I think he's got 2 years left on his deal. Um, should we go and get Ryan Christie? No, definitely not. Definitely not. He doesn't want to come back anyway. He doesn't want to come back to Scotland. He wants to continue his career down in England. And I don't think that going and getting players back like him would give us any advantage. Who cares? Says Johnny Kenny could be covered until January. I definitely think that there's something in that. We do need someone in. It's we either bring back a lone player that can play in that position, but it's the run into the season. Do you really want somebody of youth to be your main attacker? I don't think so. No, when it's important, not when that lot, and as it stands at the moment, are only 5 points behind. I don't think we really need to go in and get someone with a bit of experience. And Brendan Rodgers has said that. Said, look, we've got enough project players at the moment. Just amazing that 15 grand a week is considered cheap. I would love a job like that, says Jason. Yep, same here. What about the young striker with ginger hair, Joey Dawson on board? He's probably better than O. I don't know. It's when you've got the younger players that are out on loan, they're out on loan for a reason to get them sort of up to speed. Yeah, well, as SPFL Belfast, um, the Green Brigade having the tickets gotten. We spoke about it earlier in the game. They're going to be banned until after the Aberdeen game. Um, word on the street is this was expected since Lawwell was back. No coincidence that this has started again when Lawwell returns. That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying on that one. Whatever is too much. Christie would only be back because of the Scottish requirement. Is he? Would you bring him back just because of that? Surely there is. Uh, yes, they're banned for tomorrow. Cheltenham. They're banned for tomorrow. Um, wow, you see, I'm reading the comments. Would Christie be back because of the Scottish requirement? I think he could be back for that, but I don't think he will. I don't think he'll come back. And plus, he's not going to come back until the summer. I can't see Celtic going out and buying him out the remainder of his contract. And he's in talks with his club at the moment anyway. If he Cheltenham were never going to lose Kilburn in January. The only worry is that occurrence of his shoulder injury. Now, that's something that we've never spoken about. You know that his shoulder did keep on popping at the beginning of the season. It looks as if that might have come down a bit. But what if, what if Kyogo does get that shoulder injury again and puts him out? Before, you got to remember when Kyogo did get was it a hamstring injury, and then we had the big grumpy Greek who wanted to leave Celtic because he wasn't getting enough game time. We're left with O or Joey Dawson, who's just a young player. If we have anyone that's got experience in banging in goals, um, sitting in the background waiting, we're in trouble. Do you know? But no, we're not. We're not because we are Celtic, and we can weather the storm when it comes to that. We've got other players that can come in. And we've got other players that can come in. Surely, Stuart Ramsey is in the building. Even Basfield Times, he'll from Banking Boy with no fire stick. I thought you got your fire stick, Stuart. Christy will not return, says Big Dom. Maida could fill up top. Yes, he could. John Dyson could Phil up top. Shooting boots aren't his best, but he could fill that position. He does play it for Japan, so I'm not overly worried about the fact well, I am. We do need a striker because let's face it, um, having having just the one striker that is prolific is 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 quite unusual for Celtic. I mean, we always usually have a backup striker that we know can get 10 to 15 goals a season. Can't all be the player, um, can he be the player that scores 10 to 15 goals? I don't think. Will can score 10 to 15 goals. Don't get it till Saturday. Stuart, well, I will be doing a watch along tomorrow night, so we can all watch the trailer. I'm not going to try and change the telly. If I get banned for YouTube, it's your fault, Stuart. Right, what time is it? We've been on God, that's 50 minutes already. I flew in. So we started off the video obviously talking about the Green Brigade and the fact that they have been banned for the upcoming game against St Mirren tomorrow night. They've also had all tickets revoked for away games, so they won't get any tickets for Ross County or Atletico Madrid. They all knew that was already. And then up comes Celtic Aberdeen, and that is on Sunday, November the 12th. Not a chance will Celtic let them back in on Sunday, November the 12th. At the earliest, I would think that Celtic will let them back in after the international break, which means that the Green Brigade won't be back in until at the earliest the 25th of November, which is a game at home to Motherwell. The next game after that is obviously away to Lazio, away to St Johnstone. Could it be the fact, dare, will Celtic dare keep them out until the 6th of December against Hibs? I can't see it. I can't see it at all. I think there would be a complete outcry. They will be banned for at least a month. They will be banned until at least after the Aberdeen. Just in my own opinion, knowing how that these things have worked out before over the years, and yeah, keeping it real. Um, Another hour, but I'm not doing another hour tonight. Not a chance. We'll do a 2 hour one tomorrow for the watch along one for the game. Big Dom, I'm just going to reply. Keep politics out of football. And I've said this before. Back at the Hillsborough game, when we played Liverpool in in a charity game to raise money for the Hillsborough disaster, that's all that people spoke about at the game. Liverpool fans and Celtic fans. It was a long time ago, in the 80s, and people have been talking about politics at football for a long time. So, um, this nonsense that we have to keep politics out of football, and I'm going to go over it again. If you've got to keep politics off the terrace, keep politics off the advertising boards in football grounds, because there's far too many times over the years that that who's this Midas? I need to go into the chat. You're right, Douglas Ross. Yeah, the amount of times that you've seen posters around grounds at Scotland for MPs, for political parties, um, what was this Midas saying anyway? He's banned anyway. The board forget to ignore that we came from and why. Yep. Yeah, it is that. It is that. Anyway, too many folk are saying keep politics out of football, but it is just it's a fact that politics have been around Celtic for as long as I've been to games, and I'm on the wrong side of the dial when you put your age in for anything online. It's like playing spin the wheel now. You got to flick it around like that. Anyway, I'm going to bother doing that. Bother, right. Don't get it till Saturday. Don't get that till Saturday. Hate that, Jason. Can we have one way, mate? You've got flags as well. Yep. I have a feeling that Kyogo may not get called up for Japan. That'll be interesting. Then, well, let's hope he doesn't because well, he scored for Japan, so I think he will get called up for Japan. I think he will get called up for Japan. Remember, he did score. He did score. Lanky, the Green Brigade. Yes. Like they've been flying them before that. They've been flying them since before that, since before 2014. Just thought I'd put that out there. They've been flying them since before that. I feel bad for the guys who don't get called up, but feel happy for myself. Yeah, it's true. It's true. It is difficult for players when they don't get called up for international games. Do you mean for the up and coming games? Um, the international break that we've got this month is just a complete and utter nonsense. So I've just had a message. I don't know who's on that. The board are scared of UEFA, says Chilpil Baz. What's your thoughts on UEFA? Could close the stadium? No, they won't close the stadium. They will not close the stadium. That's all paper talk. All paper talk. They'll never close the stadium for a big game. They've not been warned that at all. It's nonsense. When you look at the pyro and the things that goes on around Europe on an ongoing basis in the Champions League, the press in Scotland are very selective when they like to show you. If you go into any of the ultras YouTube channels or Twitter feeds or anything like that, you see amazingly big displays, way bigger than anything the Green Brigade can do, right? Completely massive. I mean, the only time that the Green Brigade compare to anything that goes on in Europe is when we do a full stadium tifo. What goes on in Europe and European games is far worse than anything the Green Brigade do for one European game. So, could UEFA close the stadium? No, they will not even close part of the stadium because Celtic, in their wisdom, have banned the fans, which will. And you've got to remember that Peter Lawwell is on one of these European frigging board of whatever ever safety things. You have to remember that as well. And it's in Peter Lawwell's own professional. Let's not even go down that road. Protestant Scotland never mentioned about and oh, oh, Pat Maguire. Oh dear. Yep. You're right. Dysfunctional. You talk nonsense. You talk nonsense. Mawolski. Let's get back to him. He'd be good. Says Chow Pill. Lanka doesn't agree with the fact. Um, look what happened to the late level fans of Ajax, Marseille. Yep. Exactly. Exactly. The Tory board, right? That is it. I have done and dusted for the night because it's just turning into complete and utter mayhem. How many thumbs ups do we have for the night? We've only got 78 thumbs up. We've got 170 watched on this at the moment, which is fantastic. Um, welcome to everyone that has watched it. There has been a few unsubscribes, but who cares? Free Palestine, Tarmac message. Thumbs up, remember at 69. Remember the powers. Yep, that is it. Right, I need to go on to here because I'm on the wrong screen. Have a fantastic evening, Celtic fans, all around the world, and remember, freedom.